Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to A Beer with the Old Growler. I'm the Old Growler, Pete LaFrance, and I'm here to have a beer, and I'll tell you why. Today is the 50th day of shelter in place here in Brooklyn, New York, which means that folks have got to stay inside, especially when you're a little bit past your prime, and because we have this virus that's going around, COVID-19. For those of you who are watching this live, well, you know what it is. For those of you who will be watching this in the future, well, it's a pandemic, and it has hit the world hard, and it is it's closed down all the pubs, bars, and taverns, restaurants, any type of social get-together place, sports, spas, massage parlors, but whatever. Things have closed down pretty much. So for a journalist like me, well, it's a little difficult. I've been covering the beverage industry, the malt beverage industry, and the hospitality industry for about 35, 40 years. And I spend at least 3 or 4 hours a day out talking to people in pubs, bars, and restaurants. I've published a couple of books for those of you who are new here. Beer Basics and Cooking and Eating with Beer, both by John Wiley and Sons. For those of you who are old timers, well, you've had to sit through that and listen to it again, and I do apologize. However, things in context, everything in context. And this is the place of speaking of context and numbers. Today is the 32nd Old Growler. One more day than a full month of growlers. That's a lot of growlers. Okay, since for those of you who didn't see the trailer at the beginning of this channel and who have come here directly, since they closed down all those pubs, bars, and taverns, I've been thirsty, and I figured, well, let's see now. There's this thing called streaming. Why don't I invite a whole bunch of people to come have a beer with me? Okay. Well, I've got 3 people here. Mary's here. Oh, you like the trailer, Mayor? Thanks very much. I do. I worked on that a little bit. The Old Growler took over the channel, and we're going to. Actually, he has, in a way. And thanks for the thumbs up, guys. I see I've got a 4th person here, and since we got 4 people, it is time for a beer because it is 5:02. And today, yes, sir, Bob, the ale house was open yesterday. I forgot that it was Monday, and they were closed, and so I was out without my growler. But I do have a growler full of 2 roads, Road to Ruin. It's I think it's almost become the house beer here. If you guys have been following me, and let's see if I. Oh boy, look at that pour! I tell you, single-handed. Needs a little time to relax, as do we all, I tell you. Today I lost my email for a while. Still lost it, but it's going to come back, I've been assured. So it's been an up and down day for. Why did you put the top on there for, Peter? You don't need to do that. Okay, it's about time. It's about space. Whoops, that's 3 fingers. It's about 4 of you, and I'm glad to see all 4 of you. Oh yeah, Monica. Yeah, it's at the very beginning, just when you click on to the whole thing. But anyway, it's good to see everybody here, and cheers. Never lets me down. Good old house beer, I tell you. But let's see, what do we got here? Okay, today we're going to be having a little bit of fun. There's a new beer. Well, they've relabeled themselves. I have no idea what their old label is like. If I do find it, I'll put it in a picture in the information box below. But this is a Lord Lobo Brewing Company, New England brewed ale. Let's see where they come from. They sent it to me. They're very nice people from Woodburn, Massachusetts. So we're going to try that out today. And we have some friends in fermentation with us today. Yes, we have a Lindner Hazy and Juicy IPA style cider. So we've got a cider coming here, and that's going to be fun. definitely. We always like it when our friends in fermentation stop by. And let's see now, if there's anybody here who has just started, please don't forget to subscribe and to click on that alarm bell there so that you'll know when the Old Growler goes hot every day. And you won't miss any of the other tastings that we'll be doing. There'll be quite a few tastings going on, specialties, things like that. So let's have a little bit here and take a look outside, see what it was like today. Well, it was bright and sunny. I hope it was bright and sunny where you were. Oh, that was good. That was good. And let's see, when any time of a bar conversation, what would you walk right into the bar and say, Jerry, I'll have a beer. And he's the usual 5 o'clock routine. Actually, it was a little earlier. It was, I used to work from around 8 o'clock until 2 in the afternoon, and then a hike over to the ale house for a lunch and a little relaxation before 5 o'clock, getting back here and putting together dinner or ordering out. It used to be ordering out or going out to. But there was a lot of delivery going on. I'll admit that. That's certainly changed. I tell you, boy, the kitchen is getting quite a workout. Definitely, and there's a particular saucepan and a particular frying pan and a flat square griddle and about 4 stainless steel bowls. I mean, just it's almost reminds me of a restaurant. You know, that you constantly using those things. That's all there is to it. But yeah, I'm excited. I should do a lot more cooking. And the last night, I did yesterday afternoon, last night, did a pot roast that I'm dying to sink my teeth into tonight. Those of you who follow me on Facebook, it's Beer Basics on Facebook. You'll get to see a picture of the beast. Which cooking, for me, cooking is a lot of fun. It's therapeutic. It's organizing. It's figuring things out. I understand menus. I mean, and I collect books, cookbooks. Oh boy, and I'm bragging. Yes, I am. But I've probably got about 100 cookbooks that have been published over the last 30 years that are all inscribed by the authors. I used to go to the Book and the Cook in Boston when they would have, it was a festival in the springtime, and I'm talking slush time for Boston. It had to be in February or March. And what it was it was organized by, I can't remember the name of the PR people, but what they did is they put together restaurants that wanted to participate. And there had to have been about 30 or 40. I mean, it was a thing to be in. And the restaurant would participate. They would choose a book author, a cookbook author, to come in and do dinners. Tell about the dinner. They would usually have one of the items on the menu, or maybe the entire menu, was from the cookbook. And it would be a back and forth, a presentation, a question and answer. The food would be served between each course. The author would say something about the course or why it was there, what made it important, and it was a lot of fun. And the most fun was that it was a 3-day event, and they put us up at the La Meridienne, and boy, that was a nice hotel. And one of the great things was on the 3rd day, I believe it was the 2nd day, there was a potluck lunch, and all the chefs that were involved in the restaurants would contribute hot things that could be made into a buffet, and all of the authors that wanted to would show up for this potluck lunch, and the chance to meet these other chefs and to meet the other cookbook authors. It was just an amazing experience. And I used to love to trade books. Rick Bayless, I've traded a book with him. Let's see. Oh boy, a fellow from South Carolina. I'll think of his name in a minute. But God rest his soul, he's gone. But it was a lot of fun. Jessica Harper, I got to meet. No, not Jessica Harper, Jessica Harris, who is in Brooklyn and has written about the African culture coming to cuisine in the United States. So it was a lot of fun to do that. So collecting the books and of course reading them was even more fun. The menus or recipes are they're interesting. And I won't argue that, and they give you something to work with. But I found that watching videos of chefs work, there is one in particular, and I'll put the link down below in the description box. He's a French Canadian chef out of Montreal, and all of it's in French, and Quebec French too. I mean, not traditional French. So, but to watch him work, and my rudimentary understanding of the names of the different fruits and vegetables and meats is passable. And so it is fun to watch him work and see how he works. And I think that is the real fun thing about communicating via video. And later on, I'm going to be pontificating on that after the tasting. It gets to be where I sit and pontificate. Yes. And that's, I wouldn't say pontificating, but I would say observing, contemplating, verbally contemplating. And failure to contemplate is something that I am guilty of, and I think most of us are, to stop and think for 15 or 20 minutes without anything else, just to sit and think. We've had a chance to do that. Oh yes, sir, Bob. I gotta be careful what I ask for. You know, what I wish for. It's because this whole pandemic is all my fault. It's all my fault. I was the one that said 3 or 4 months ago, boy, you know, I'm walking across the Brooklyn Bridge in the morning and all these tourists are here, and the Asians they're taking the wedding pictures, and why should they all freaking go away? Well, they did. So it's my fault. It's all my fault. My fault. Boy, you know what I do? I deserve another beer. That way I'll come up with a different thought, a better thought. Let's see. For you 4 folks that are here, don't send me an email. I can't get it, but put down in a comments box what there we go. It's much better. And now that you've poured yourself a pint, you think you're going to do a tasting? Well, why not? Why not? Let's see. Anything? Well, okay. We'll start it. Why? Yeah. Let's see. When I do beer tastings, I don't rank things, as everybody knows. I'm pretty rank myself, but and I don't rank myself, but I do rank on myself. But anyways, it goes to words and the use of words, and boy, oh boy, we're gonna get to that later. What I've got here is apparently a rebranding, and I've got. Let's see. Did I thank you for subscribing? Yeah, thank you, and for subscribing and sharing and thumbs up. Okay, we're just going to skip ahead. As I said, this is slightly. First, okay, let's get started right here. First of all, I'd like to welcome. Let's see. Let me get this right. I want to make sure I get all the credits right here. Okay. I want to welcome Gary Monterosso and his program, What's on Tap, which is aired by WOT, Comcast Channel 22 in New Jersey, Thursdays at 9 p.m. and online. And he has that's his show, What's on Tap. And he has asked me very kindly to welcome him and his organization to our tasting. because they might be using it on their show, and I'd be perfectly glad to do that. Gary, welcome. It's good to have you. And let me explain how we do things here. What we do is we don't rate beers. We take a look at, let me get the other one. We don't rate beers. We take a look at what's on the label. And as on my channel, there is a whole playlist of beer tastings at the Henry Street Ale House. And you can see how we do our tastings there. And it's called Meeting Expectations. And that's because we don't rate, we see if it meets expectations. In case of this, let's give it a shot here. We take a look at the label on the can or the bottle and how it's presented, just as a consumer would, a regular walk in the store consumer with their mask on and following the arrows. And then we take a look at it, we read it, and we say, okay, what do we expect from this can or this bottle of beer? And then the bartender, Jerry Scott, pours it, and myself and a able assistant, Jim Bennis, and usually 2 or 3 of the customers also chime in and decide whether it meets expectations or not. So that's how we do things here. So let's take a look at what we've got today. This is a rebranding, a Lord Hobo 617 Hazy Pale Ale. They're very proud of their label, so note it very well, and it's important. Okay, Lord Hobo, that's the name of the organization. 617, I don't know what that means. Hazy IPA, 6.17% alcohol volume. Boy, they're really accurate. 6.17, not 6.2, 6.17. Like it. Alcohol by volume. They've got a sense of humor. Alcohol, that's by volume. Volume, 1 pint, and it says in really small print, New England born and brewed ale. Again, born and bred, born and brewed, sense of humor. Okay, what do we have on the other side? We've got the same thing. So at least we know, oops, we got something over here. Lord Hobo Brewing Company.com and how to get to, and then the government warning that if I'm pregnant, I shouldn't drink this. And they say that they are in Woburn, Massachusetts. Excellent. All right. So what are we expecting from this? A hazy IPA. 6.17%. That's not too high. Well, we have no idea what the bittering units are. But an IPA, I'm imagining it should be a little bitter. And if not, it could balance out and be a little better. A little bitter better? I don't know. A little better bitter would be good. Here we go. It's away from the computer. I'm using a red wine glass because it's a standard and it's small, and I don't have to drink the whole thing. But it makes it easy for people to see what's going on. Okay, we've got a hazy one. We got some nice light coming in. I've been very lucky to have some good ambient light in this for this shoot. I'm going to be working with some lights, but that's beside the point. Okay, let's take a look at it. Yeah, it's a hazy ale. It's holding a nice head. Not much of an aroma. Not very bitter either. In fact, it's nicely balanced. It's a very friendly hazy IPA. On draft, I can imagine. No, wait a minute. I think in the can this is a little bit better, because in the can it has beer has a tendency to be a little more effervescent than on draft, and I can see here, but it might be pretty difficult for you guys to see, but it is an effervescent beer. And not like a wheat beer, but it's got tiny bubbles, tiny bubbles. But the use of the letters IPA, I was expecting to be a little bit more impressed. if they had made a mistake in the brewing, I would have called this a sour beer, but they didn't make a mistake, so I can't call it a sour beer. But it is it's pleasant beer, most pleasant beer. All right. Well, does it meet expectations? No, because I was expecting a more heavily hopped product with marked IPA. Did it meet expectations in the color and everything else? Everything but the flavor, and that was that was. I don't think that they were going to change the flavor or the style of their beer. I think it was mainly the labeling, and I wish them luck on the labeling. And I do say that the it needs a little bit of hops. That's my personal opinion. Okay, kids. Next, we've got us a friend in fermentation. Okay, this is Lindner, Lindner, apostrophe S. Hazy and juicy IPA style cider. Okay, we've got his friend in fermentation here. Everything ferments is very, it is. So let's start at the list. First of all, it's a smaller can. It's got a nice nice color to it. It's got the red apple, not quite apple red, but golden apple. And let's start at the very beginning here. It says, pressed and canned in the Catskills. Lindemann's hazy and juicy in the IPA style cider. IPA, again, I'm going hops. Now, what the is hops doing in cider? But we'll find out. I have these glasses. Hamden, New York. 12 ounce, and it's 5.9% alcohol by volume. So it's a little less alcohol than the ale. Naturally gluten-free. I wonder where you would get gluten out of an apple. Just a guess. Oh boy. Crafted and canned by Lindner's Cider, Hamden, New York. Tax number, blah, blah, blah. Ingredients, apples. Contains sulfites. Again, don't drink this if I'm pregnant. Some graphics. You love juicy IPAs. We love juicy IPAs. Here's our juicy IPA, made from cider and hopped to juicy hopped cider. Now, kids, this is something new and different. Hopped to juicy perfection. Now you can enjoy a thirst-quenching juicy IPA style drink without the gluten. Cheers. There's the information right there. That's it right there. It looks like a cat, I think, sitting there, looking rather pleased with himself. No, that's a bear. What's the matter with you, Peter? That's a bear. Okay. Let's bring over the glass of choice. Again, another red wine glass. I'm gonna crack open. Oh well, what do we expect? Boy, cider. I mean, I know what I know what British cider is. You know, I mean, I've tasted it before. That's your Australian accent, Peter. Look out there. You don't cross the border. No, never mind. Don't start. Okay. I know what cider is, man, but okay, well, I don't know what to expect. a bitter cider, a better cider. Let's open it up and find out. I'm not hoping for any head on this. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, that glass is dirty. No, it wasn't dirty. It's got dust on it. That's why those bubbles are on it. Let's tap it a bit. Clean it out. All right, well, it's cloudy. It's always gray and cloudy, and sometimes I think it's falling down. Peter, don't do that. Okay. I'm not getting any hops in the nose. Well, if there's hops in there, it really should be more introductory, especially if it's an IPA. Once again, underwhelmed. Ronald, good to see you. Oh, definitely. I'd like to. Well, it's a good thing you didn't have a. It's a good thing you don't have a taste for cider, because this one, well, doesn't meet expectations. It said that it was. It says on here an IPA style cider. Is it an IPA style cider? Does it have hops in it? No. So I'm sorry, kids. Thanks very much for trying, but you did not meet expectations. And so that is the Old Growler and meeting expectations. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And again, thanks for Gary Monterosa and the kids for stopping by and saying hello. And I hope they enjoyed the tasting as well. But now, back to what we've got here is the two roads. I was going to say road to perdition, but it's the road to ruin. And so I believe it's around 8 something ABV. As you can see, a hazy beer, but it goes down very nicely. Oh, let's see. I've got some words here before I close out on that tasting. Some background. Lindner's Cider is a production cidery in the Western Catskill Mountains in a town called Hamden. Having appreciated as a cider maker in the West Country of England, founder Bryan Lindner was drawn to the Catskills because of the density of wild, untouched, and pre-prohibition apple trees. I didn't know that they prohibited apple trees, but apparently they did. I know he was talking about history, whose characteristics reminded him of cider apples in England. Realizing the trees would take years to bring back to full potential, he focused on creating a hybrid cidery, one that utilizes the eating apples available in abundance, focusing on using traditional cider making practices to develop greater complexity and nuance. By capturing wild yeast around the Catskills, allowing long and slow fermentation, and blending with the diverse wild apples, we feel we've created ciders that are rich in flavor, long in finish, balanced, making you want to come back for another glass. Doesn't tell much about the product, but it does give you a little bit of a background. And I'm sure that they're talking about, well, I'm not going to read into it, but that is the information on the cider. Lord Hobo. Introducing a fresh new look to our iconic lineup and logo. We've evolved our core beers, bringing unity across the roster with striking new packaging. So this is a packaging gig. We hope you enjoy the 4-pack of newly branded 617 and tag us at Lord Hobo Brewing, one word, in any posts, and I certainly will. But that's the information that I have, and there is more information in the box below. So they didn't. The cider people didn't say too much about their cider. I don't know why. They didn't have any cans or pictures or graphics or anything. I'll have to talk to them. Okay, today you're going to have to. Now it's the time for me to muse, to think, I wouldn't say pontificate, but to contemplate. I'm going to contemplate on communication, which is what I'm doing right now to a camera, expecting and looking here and believing. Yeah, Ronald, I see the I can get Ron. I can get cans of Two Roads, and I'd be perfectly willing to trade with you. Peter LaFrance, Peter.LaFrance at beerbasics.com. Give me well, yeah, the email is out tonight, today, but give me an email over the next couple of days and we'll talk about trading some beers. That might be fun. Okay, getting a bunch of communicating, and that's what I'm doing right now. Again, very ably here with talking to a camera, and instead of the person, it's a little weird. Yeah, it is. It's like talking to the wall and hoping that there's someone on the other side, but there is apparently. And today, because of the pandemic and the social distancing, this is how we communicate. We communicate visually, Skype. We've got streaming and Zoom and all kinds of different ways of communicating visually. And as I was talking a little earlier about watching a chef cook, it's important to see how and why, just to see things, to look at something and then to be able to visualize it. Communicating in the past, hundreds of years ago, communicating was verbal, of course, and written. Printing press, of course, changed the way people were able to communicate. You could Bibles were passed around. I was going to say religiously, but yeah, they were passed around religiously, and people learned to read from them. That was how those were the books that were, and even early in the history of the United States, people would learn to read from the Bible or from a primer. And print was the way of communicating, as well as verbally. Now, verbally, you have to remember that there's not only language differences, but there's differences in how people perceive of certain words, and how they understand words and how you perceive sound. For verbal communication, I have an example of one word that can mean just about anything. And no, it's not that word, but it is the instead of using the word for excrement, I will use a word that is part of the vocabulary of most hill country Vermonters. Now, here's a conversation in hillside Vermont. Okay, I mean mountain Vermont, but up in the Northeast Kingdom. You've got a couple guys sitting there on the bench. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Now I speeded that up because in real Vermont it would be probably a quarter of that speed. I mean, we're talking slowed down, but it's understood, and communicating can be down to that basic thing. Walking across the Brooklyn Bridge in the mornings. Communicating is interesting there because out of respect for my other citizens, but the fact that I am 6 feet away from these people, and some of them are going by on bicycles and jogging, and so there's no way. But I still wear my little mask. I still do. And going across, I always give a thumbs up, and my eyes, I hope, are smiling. And I would say 90% of the time, I get a response, and it's not verbal; it's physical. It's again a thumbs up. Somebody goes to the heart. Every once in a while, I get one of these from the joggers. It is an amazing hour's walk back and forth, and communicating with at least 2 dozen people without saying a word. And to me, that is an uh, incredible thing to think about, particularly when it comes to contemplation. You think about communicating and just you, those are the types of things that are personal rather than over electronics. And over electronics always, as far as communicating over electronics, I'd like to go back to imagining and to recalling in the late 50s, early 60s. It was let's see if I can still do it. Here we are, the biggest sound in radio. It is WNRW here in Wisconsin. We're going to be with you all night long with the biggest sounds of rock and roll until we rock our souls off. This portion of the show is brought to you by Wilson's Hardware Store, 451 Wilson Street in downtown Wisconsin. Now, if you ever saw what that DJ looked like, I mean, the voice was one thing. Oh, the American Graffiti, Wolfman Jack. Oh, I tell you, the Wolfman, he was one of the best ones. He went all over the United States. That's what he did. That's the big radio, 500,000 watts. Oh, yep, that was the Wolfman. But again, you see the movie American Graffiti, they look in and they see what the guy actually looks like. And he's sitting there in a little freaking booth. So what was it? I am the morning DJ at WOLD, playing all the songs for you wherever you may be. The great good morning voice who's heard but never seen. Feeling all of 45 and going on 15. Jim Croce, I believe that was WOLD. Oh, great tune. But again, communicating. You hear the voice, but you don't see the face. And what's you in the morning, even today, every morning I listen to WCBS FM and the DJ's voices, and even they're doing remotes now. They're still all together, and those voices are part of my morning. They're communicating, and I listen to them. I listen to the stories and everything. So it's funny how you can hear nuances in voices without having to see them. And if we're going to look at the differences between audio and video, okay. In the, again, late 50s, early 60s, if you want to listen to a baseball game or you want to watch listen to a football game on the radio, in New York, you had the great Monty Glickman. Oh, Giants football, or Mel Allen for Yankee baseball. Yep, no problem. One person with the whole game, all 9 innings or all 4 quarters, one person. There you go, on the radio. You can't see it, one person. Television comes along. You can see the game. You can watch what's going on, and it takes 3 people to do it. It takes a commentator, color commentator. It takes an professional athlete to explain really what's going on, and it takes the color person, the person who's there for the jokes, and then of course the sideline person. So that's four people to tell you what you're watching. Now, explain to me, please. What type of communicating is that? Well, it's not terribly efficient, number one. It is entertaining, number two. And you don't have to think, number three. And that's kind of a dangerous way of communicating. Especially when you don't have to think about what they're saying. It's kind of like a background noise. And then talk becomes background noise, and then what happens? So that's my thought on communicating. Oh, I've got somebody else in here. Downtown Wisconsin. Well, my voice got carried away. Oh yeah, Doto, geez, boy, yeah. That once the DJ voice kicks in there, it's it takes over. It's one of those little things that my mind doesn't, but it happens often. Downtown Wisconsin, geez, I couldn't think of a name of a city. Oh no, that's true communicating. I'm communicating to you right there. That's personal. Okay, we got 5 people here with me. I thank you all very much for that. I don't. What to let's see. Does anybody else have any thoughts, questions that you would? No, you've got to write it. I can sit here and you have to look at me and listen. But if anybody has anything to write down, there's it says anyway on my screen. It's a say something right there, so you can click right on it. Okay, Madison. Oh, yes, that's true. Madison, Wisconsin. Oh, Wally. Walter. Oh, geez, do I have the book here? Oh God, where is it? I'm sure I do. It's got to be here. Is that it? Yes. Yes, he pulls it out. No, he doesn't. He does. He pulls. No, he doesn't pull it out. No, the book. Not the. Come on, don't think like that. Here we go. You talk about Madison, Wisconsin. This is a classic. The Complete Guide to Madison Taverns, Beer Drinking in Madison by Warsaw Strohs, Denise Williams, and Walter Shorty. This was a self-published book. Oh God, this is a classic. And again, it's a book I traded to Peter. Letters from the Glass Frog is a 5-star journal. I'll have to tell you guys about Letters from the Glass Frog. It was self-published in 1983. 1983 by Warsaw Stroh. The funny thing about it, let's see his name. Okay, here we go. Oh boy, this is cool. Okay, here we go. March 4th, 1984. Dear Peter, yes, I will be glad to accept your offer of a year of Letters from the Glass Frog in exchange for one of my books. Not only that, but I have another idea. As I am book review editor for the Beer Can Collectors Office, which has about 10,000 members, how would you like to exchange reviews? That is, we could review each other's publications in the one right for what do you think? If you can send me a back issue or two, we will be returned if you want, along with some info on future plans. And here is a letter, Letters from the Glass Frog. I used to publish this as a newsletter back in print. And yes, so we did. That is how it was done. This was, what was the date on this one? P.O. Box to the Glass Frog. I've been closing a coupon to obtain a copy of your new publication, Letters from the Glass Frog. Oh boy, look at that. And he talks about the more interesting city taverns. And I believe he got his name from Warsaw Strohs. It's a pen name because it has to do with Strohs, of course, the beer, and Warsaw being one of the beers that was brewed out in Wisconsin. So thank you very much for bringing that up, Monica. I had not thought of this book in ages. And what would be fun is to see how many of these bars are still in existence. And there are quite a few. Being a college town, it's a huge market. But boy, there's a bit of a book history, which is again communicating by print. And thank goodness there's some pack rats like me that keep things around. That was just a. Anyways, cheers to the 5 of you here. Thanks again for another. We got another thumbs up. Boy, every single one of those thumbs up on the Google. Boy, those kids love us. Or in here in YouTube land, they love us, as we all know. If you're still here, Ron or Ronald, I don't know how to address you, but thanks very much for stopping by. I've been watching your stuff, and it's a lot of fun. I just wonder how you manage to do so much of it. We'll have to talk sometime. And Monica, it's always fun to see you here. Mayor, if you're still here, well, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Let's see. What do we got now? We're going. We only got. We've done 45 minutes, almost an hour. I'm tempted to. No, I'm not gonna. I don't. I'm just gonna stay with this and thank all you folks for being here, and anybody who has watched this long. You really do deserve a thank you. So send me an email, peter.lafrance@beerbasics.com, but do it tomorrow because then my email address will be working. And let me know what you think. And even better, subscribe, share, and give me a thumbs up. I appreciate that. For all you kids that are watching this later, I do appreciate this. Thank you very much. I hope you're all getting along and not doing anything untoward, trying to stay sane. But you know, what is sanity? That's one of those wonderful questions. I've got to have a little bit more. And the reason I'm having a little bit more is because, as I mentioned earlier, I did a wonderful pot roast last night, which I'm saving for today, letting it go overnight. It's not, well, it's not going to go anywhere. It's sitting in the fridge overnight. And I am truly looking forward to that little devil. One of the fun things about cooking is you never cook for yourself. You always cook for other people, and that's why I'm so pleased that I have a wonderful wife, Virginia, that puts up with me. And later on, everybody is invited. When we get one of the ability to get all together. We've thrown some parties here, and we're going to throw another one. That's for sure. And I'll be able to move the camera around, and we can take anybody in the world everybody here can all get together and celebrate. Actually, instead of well, anyways, cheers. This is another two-row. It's the same two roads coming out of the same growler. Why don't you sip your beer, Peter? Because I like to quaff it. Q-U-A-F, quaff, quaff. I wonder where that word came from. I'll have to look it up. To quaff beer. That would be maybe something to look up. Always. I pegged that. Now that I could see. That could be probably cribbage or something like that. So language is just too much fun. As I said, I've heard conversations in Vermont. And there's nuances that you can do to it's just yeah. A three, you know. My Uncle Perry, Albert Perry, lived on Lake Bomazeen, and he had a nice little cabin home that he built it, and he was a real yeah. It was funny. When I was at Norwich University, I'd hitchhike over sometimes and have my uniform on, and my father and mother and my sister would be there, and it would be fun. He and Aunt Blanche, real old time Vermonters. But Uncle Perry, he used to go up and down the Erie Canal, up and down the Hudson. Apparently had to do with iron ore or something, because he had been in smelting and had something to do with the statue of the jockey with the ring and designing it or something. He had something to do with it. But The thing I remember about it was he did go in his early days, and when I knew him, he was in his late 80s, early 90s, if not further on. He would go up and down the Hudson to New York City and back, apparently. And his admonition to me was, "There, I tell you, you live in the city, New York. Oh, look out for there. They got them opium den there. They got them plenty big opium den. They're looking for the sailor man come down there. I tell you, look out for that. Oh, wait, the New York City got the opium den." Yep. So I didn't have the heart to tell him that the opium dens had been closed down for almost 80 years, but he was a neat old guy. But again, communicating, it was his world, and watching people try and communicate where they've been, to me, is something that is amazing, because I've seen films, videos of soldiers who were one of the last who to fly a combat mission over Okinawa, and they had him in his old World War II pinks and what we call the old Eisenhower jacket, and he do the stuff. He was almost 90. But in his eyes, man, the dude was 22. It was weird. It was weird to watch. Whoa. On that note, I thank you all. I thank for all the thumbs up. I thank everybody for being here. And as I always get to the end of most of these, I try and say, stay safe, stay well, and I hope to see you tomorrow. May all of your beers meet expectations.